and all the staff. I want to wish everybody a very happy new year. I wish all of us a year of good health, happiness, and success. And I wish you all that whatever you want should come true, including repaired infrastructure, because we all dream about it. Anyway, we have 3 meetings today, one at 6 o'clock, which is now, which is to discuss and approve the operating budget, at 6:30 to approve the 3-year capital budget called the PTI, and the 7 o'clock normal monthly meeting. So we're here at the first meeting, and I'd like to officially open the meeting, which is a special meeting of the Municipal Council of the City of Westmount, held here at 6 o'clock. We do have a question period. So I'm calling the meeting to order. We do have 2 question periods as we do in every meeting. And I would, of course, ask you to limit the questions to the budget. So I don't know if there are any questions for the first period because you haven't heard the budget yet. Maybe it would be better if you have questions to ask afterwards. But I have to ask, are there any questions at this point? So if not, we go on to item number 3, which is to adopt the agenda. I call on Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the agenda of the special council sitting of January 13th, 2026 be now adopted.
Okay, so before we go through the budget and... Oh, yes, all in favor?
No, sorry, I need a seconder, please.
Oh, sorry, seconder, Graveen, Chaddock, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. So on the again, we're talking about the operating budget. Chers résidentes et chers résidents de Westmount et membres de Conseil, dear residents and members of Council, ce soir, le Conseil est invité à adopter un budget de fonctionnement équilibré d'un montant total de 146 millions de dollars qui exclut Hydro-Québec. Ce budget finance intégralement les activités et les obligations de la Ville. Il reflète une approche délibérée et rigoureuse des finances municipales fondée sur la stabilité, la transparence à long terme et l'adaptation à l'inflation. As you know, our budget is mainly financed by our tax revenues. I therefore feel it is important to say a few words about the context and reasons behind our tax choices for 2026. These decisions, taken with care and after careful consideration by the Council, are based on 3 elements: the new valuation rule from the City of Montreal, the tax rate for our city, and the need to fund our investment in our infrastructure. The city's new assessment rule, which includes Westmount properties, came into effect on January 1, 2026. The average single-family home in Westmount is now valued at approximately $2.7 million, which compares to $927,000 for the island of Montreal average. And the average condo in Westmount is valued at $1.7 million, compared to $550,000 average for the island of Montreal. The total value of properties in our city has increased by approximately 5.6% compared to the previous rule. Consequently, with few exceptions, most taxpayers would expect to see an automatic increase in their property tax bill simply due to the rise in property values as indicated in the assessment roll produced by the Ville de Montréal. Secondly, the Council determines the tax rate for the City of Westmount as part of our budgetary process. The rate increase will be a modest 0.53 of 1%, a half of 1%. This includes a special tax dedicated to financing investments in maintenance, rehabilitation, and construction of our infrastructure. As a result, our total tax revenue for 2026 is projected to increase by 5.9% compared to last year. This is composed of 3.3% adjustment to cover inflation, rising costs, and 2.6% for infrastructure tax to finance our essential infrastructure and capital work program. The individual tax impact will vary based on property valuation. Tax bills will differ from one neighborhood to another. This variation is primarily due to changes in property assessments under the new rule prepared by the City of Montreal. These valuation changes are market-driven and remain independent of the council's budgetary decisions. To help residents manage the impact of the municipal taxes, council has approved for the first time in our history a new payment option. Beginning this year, property taxes will be paid in 3 installments rather than 2, providing greater flexibility and easing cash flow pressures for households. This change does not affect the amount of tax owed, but it allows residents to spread payments over a longer period, reflecting the council's sensitivity to affordability while maintaining the city's financial stability. There will be of no interest charge to you by paying over 3 payments rather than 2. The city will lose some interest income, but that's okay. We decided to do this to help people. The central challenge in preparing this year's budget was to create the fiscal room required to address rising operating costs and necessary infrastructure investments, while maintaining service levels and exercising restraint for taxpayers. Rather than relying on one-time measures, drawing down reserves, or postponing costs, Council chose a structurally sound approach. This budget funds day-to-day services, meets our obligations in full, and preserves accumulated surplus so it remains available for future needs. A key component of this discipline has been staffing. In 2026, the city will operate with a reduced overall headcount, the result of deliberate decisions not to automatically replace departing staff and to reassess positions as they become vacant. This approach has allowed the city to contain payroll growth and slightly reduce payroll costs as a percentage of the total, while continuing to deliver core municipal services. Going forward, any request for additional staffing will be subject to rigorous justification and council approval. Council has also adjusted the municipal tax duties on transfers, known as the welcome tax, applicable to property transactions. This measure applies only at the time of purchase and does not affect residents who are not buying or selling properties at the time. By relying more on transaction-based revenue, Council has been able to limit additional pressure on ongoing residential property taxes while maintaining the city's capacity to fund services and infrastructure. This budget also reflects changes beyond our control. While property values in Westmount have increased, they have done so at a slower pace than other parts of the island of Montreal. As a result, our contribution to the Montreal agglomeration will slightly decrease. Nevertheless, payments to the agglomeration and the Communauté Métropolitaine de Montréal continue to represent nearly half of our total operating budget. At the same time, Council has made targeted investments in areas that deeply matter to our community. Funding has been increased for the library and community events, and the Urban Planning's department budget has been expanded to complete the next phase of the comprehensive overhaul of our urban planning bylaws and the inventory of our built heritage. Operational costs in the engineering department have been reduced through a shift away from external consultants towards direct investment in infrastructure work. Ce budget reflète une stratégie financière claire, contrôler ce que nous pouvons contrôler, gérer les coûts avec rigueur et préserver la capacité de la ville à investir dans les infrastructures et à maintenir la qualité des services. Il représente une transition vers une approche plus durable et plus résiliente des finances de la ville. This is a responsible budget. It protects Westmount's financial resilience, respects taxpayers, and positions the city to meet future challenges without compromising its values or its heritage. For these reasons, I am asking Council to support the adoption of the 2026 operating budget. Thank you. But I have some comments off script. Not supposed to do that. First thing, I want to thank the Finance Department of the city and all the administration for all their work. We look at the summary, we go into a lot of detail, we've had a lot of meetings, but there's a lot of work that goes into this by the staff. The accounting is such that there are apparently 2,000 line items, individual line items in the budget. So people work very hard to work on this. Our Finance and Administration Committee challenged the administration to see what we could do to reduce costs, save costs where we could. And it's important to know that. The budget will be available. We'll vote on it shortly. It will be available online tomorrow. I'm an accountant, so I summarize things in a very succinct way. I did it for myself, but I'm going to convey it to you very simply. So the budget, and you will see it tomorrow, we've increased revenue $9.6 million. The $9.6 million comes from, and this is comparing the budget this year to the budget last year, 2025, and the budget last year, 2025, should approximate the actual, which is not ready at this point. So compared to last year, we're forecasting an increase in welcome tax of $3 million. We're forecasting an increase of $6.4 million of tax to the 5,500 taxpayers, and there's a bunch of other things that total amount to $200,000. So we're increasing our revenue by $9.6 million. Now, where is this money going and what is it doing? It's very important. The first thing is our overhead is going up a very small amount, a net of $2.2 million. This is very low and probably much lower of an increase than the previous years. In fact, we do benefit from two things which went our way this year. One was that the agglomeration charge went down by $600,000, and our pension obligation went down by $800,000. The pension obligation is based on actuarial evaluations, which are done every year, every 3 years, in which independent actuaries calculate the life and expectancy of the employees and compare it with the value of our investments. Anyway, after last evaluation, it worked out in our favor for many reasons, and we're saving compared to last year $800,000. So with those two favorable things, the net increase of all the overhead is only $2.2 million. Where is the rest of the money going? Two good things. One is we're reducing our use of the past surplus by $4.3 million, and this money will be available for much-needed infrastructure repairs. If you remember, I mentioned last time we're doing a complete analysis of our infrastructure, the status, and a plan to fix everything, and that is being worked on now and will be ready probably in the spring. That's the targeted date. So we're not using compared to last year, we're saving $4.3 million of surplus to be available for the future. The other thing we're doing is we're increasing the pay-as-you-go by $3.1 million. This is the money that's going into this year's capital budget, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's an extra amount. So of the $9.6 million raised, 7.4 is available for infrastructure, much needed, and only 2.2 is for overhead. The second thing I do want to say is, it's not in the script, but I'll tell you. The evaluations, it is interesting, the evaluation, the way it works, and it affects a lot of people. I thought it would be interesting, so I'll mention it to you. It affects us two ways. Firstly, it affects what the city charges us, because they do a calculation. The City of Montreal is completely independent of us. They evaluate everybody's property and the whole island, buildings, residential, non-residential, single family homes, everything, and they come up with all these values. And then in terms of the 15 cities that are independent, like City of Westmount, they look at the relative value compared to the others. So what has transpired is the value of our properties went up 5.6%, which I mentioned, but there's many other cities that have gone up a lot more. So they are paying this year a higher percentage of the agglomeration tax, and we got a break, and we will have that break for 3 years, which will need the money. It's great news. We're going to need the money for infrastructure. So that's one thing that you should understand in terms of the valuation. The other thing is particularly valuation within the city of Westmount. So I mentioned that the total tax dollars to be raised will be 5.9%, and the 5.9% is 3.3 for inflation and 2.6 for a tax for infrastructure. Now, not everybody's going to pay 5.9% more. In fact, half the people, the way we see it, will actually pay 4% or less. So, and we've looked at it, and this is independent of us. It's based on the valuation. Another thing that you notice, it looks strange, you'll see somebody actually pointed out to me, on my street, and you'll see it on a few streets like that, Grosvenor, Victoria, there's a bunch of streets where above, let's say, Westmount Avenue, it's gone up, the valuation, and below Westmount Avenue, it didn't go up, or didn't go up as much. So you could look at that and say, does that make any sense? So I think what you have to look at is what is the value today. I tell you my own situation. I live on Victoria, and 6 years ago they raised my valuation 25%. I thought it's ridiculous, and I contested it. I think you have to the end of April to contest it. I actually contested with an expert. You could do it on your own. And the city agreed and reduced it. The next year, the next 3 years after that, they increased it over 30% again, well over 30%. So I contested again, and I lost. So anyway, you could do this on your own if you want to talk to me after about who I used. But I think the key thing is if you look at your valuation and you believe the valuation that the City of Montreal has given you for your house, if you think that's higher than the real value, it may be worth to contest. So those are my comments on the budget. To go back to the, so to adopt, I'm at item number 4. I call on Councillor Chamy.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Whereas, I'll read the whereas, Mr. Mayor, whereas pursuant to the first paragraph of Section 474 of the Cities and Towns Act, Council must prepare and adopt the municipal budget for the next fiscal year no later than the January 31st following a general election year, and we must provide therein for revenues at least equal to the expenditures set out therein. I move, Mr. Mayor, that the city budget for 2026 fiscal year, providing for balanced revenues and expenditures in the amount of $712,400 be adopted, and that the appropriations in the amount of $1,266,000 from the accumulated surplus as provided for in the said 2026 budget be adopted as approved.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor D'Amico, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Item number 5, question period. Does anyone have any questions on the budget, on the numbers? Thank you. Nothing on, so I guess we close the meeting. I declare that the meeting is over, and thank you very much.
We will come back and
We'll be back. Don't go away. Don't.